Hi, Sajady here with Mas on Sundays, where it's we explain life, real life, on why things work the way they do, and how and why it hasn't worked the way it has in the past in history. A lot of times, and again, welcome to all you new individuals. A lot of times, what we see is that I'm trying to see the chat here. Here we go. A lot of times, in history, we keep repeating history, over and over and over and over again. We keep repeating the same damn thing, whether it is politics, whether it is, say, religion, whether it is, say, family value structures and so on like that. We keep repeating the same issues. Why do we do that? Do we change? Is it because, we need to have more rules or whatever it is, and then we start to realize that, well, or at an XI level, when you become exponentially intelligent, we start to realize, there's deeper reasons on why, well, shit happens the way it does. And then once we get to the top level surface, or as Elon Musk says, the first principle on why stuff happens, then we get massive changes. So for those who've had massive changes through the help of XI, exponential intelligence, doing the work and so on, comment in on, say, how you've, say, shifted or transformed through XI, and whether it is, say, health patterns, money patterns, spiritual connection, whatever it might be, relationship patterns, right? What made you change so fast? And the reason is, the underlying reason is that, one, you get to step one is you get down to the first level, or the top level, on why your life is the way it is, and then two, we do something about it. Most individuals, again, they have a lot of solutions out there, but it's not the solution that you're looking for, and um, that's why their life, again, recycles, whether it's the same as their parents' lives, or society's lives. So no matter how great of an idea it is, again, if we don't get to the underlying reason on why things happen, we'll get the same issues, no matter how great, say, the solution or problem is. I talk about that because a lot of times here we're talking about, say, treating depression with psychedelics, right? And it's a fantastic opportunity, fantastic, say, there's fantastic research on it. We're going to be talking about, say, the positives and the negatives on that. And then right after, just to prove to you, or just to show to you, just to explain to you on, what I'm talking about, say, the underlying reason on figuring out, say, the underlying reason on why, your life is the way it is. I'm going to be testing with my abilities with Carlos. I don't think I've ever spoken to him, or very new to us. We are going to be, again, without any further knowledge, just really tapping into his life issues, like the way I can, and then and then say, solving it. So here we go. Treating depression with psychedelics. So what we're going to be talking about is, um, you know, exactly what consistently works and what doesn't. Safe steps to take if you're going to, say, experiment with psychedelics, and then how to treat depression and anxiety in less than, say, I would say 60 seconds for a lot of individuals. And I'll show you that process, or what you can do. Right? It's a fantastic process that, again, doesn't take drugs, chemicals, anything like that. It literally is a process which I call spatial referencing. Some of you may have known about it. If those individuals listening in are have had depression in the past, or anxiety, or even suicidal tendencies, and they've used spatial referencing, right? Spatial referencing to really, say, sort things out. I'll talk about the details of spatial referencing. uh, it's eternal changes, XI, is it? Yes. Uh, uh, Trying to read some comments. No drugs. Wow. Yes. So again, it's amazing. Those who have um, resolved their anxiety issues or depression issues using spatial referencing, again, commenting on, say, how that's worked. And that's the underlying reason, literally, on why life is the way it is, or why you're depressed. Okay, and I'll give you the logistics. It's very, very new science, just like XI is. It is a very, very new science. So some of you who might not understand it, don't poo-poo and go, you know what, that doesn't work, because, well, it's like, those individuals poo-pooing Einstein when he came out with a lot of his theories, right, on how stuff worked, and even the scientific community try to oust him, try to put him in an insane asylum. But then later on, him and Tesla, later on, where do we go? All the technology, the intelligence, wireless communication, basically based on those two individuals. Obviously, Niels Bohr and some other individuals as well. But again, it came out of those two individuals that people thought at the time were crazy, right? Most really good solutions are, say, out of the scientific scope at first, and they always look a little crazy. But then afterwards, as people more and more look into it, they go, wow, by the way, what else have you got to lose, right? Again, there's no drugs, there's nothing else. So you might as well try it, see if it works out for you, okay, or your loved ones. We do offer a suicidal meditation that's helped a lot of people. It's free. So if you know anybody who are, like, say, suicidal or massively depressed, comment in. I don't know, maybe the team can tell you where to get that or where to access that on that as well. So again, it's a free meditation that we do that help. As a note, I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything to do with the medical um, community or anything like that. But the new science that I created, not created, discovered, really has helped a ton of people in many, many areas. All right, so again, exactly what consistently works and what doesn't. Okay, so back in the day, and again, going way back in the day, what a lot of people do back then, it was normal, and this is what happened to, say, one of the Kennedys, unfortunately, right? They had a massive depression and so on. So what they would do back in the day, and it was considered okay, it'd be a lobotomy. They just cut off the front lobe of your brain, and that was, say, considered the standard of the moment. That was considered, well, that's what you do normally. If consistent depression, you can't figure it out, you just cut a piece of your brain out. But unfortunately, it didn't really, really, really work out, for those individuals, right? There are a lot of side effects. Um, and then they went into, electric shock therapy and so on like that. And then from there, they went into, say, drugs and so on like that. A lot of drugs are poisonous, really, really poison or toxic for the nervous system. So that's pretty much the history of how people have treated depression. Oh, and way back in the day, if you're depressed or anxious and so on, sometimes they'd lock you up in a room on that, and that's how bad it is, or that's how bad it was. They literally would just lock you in the room, and then you would die in the room. It's called stonewalling. If you've ever heard of that, they'd literally put you in the room, put bricks around you, and you'd be stonewalled, and that you'd die in there, basically. So that's the steps. Depression today, again, say psychotherapy and so on like that, um, which works, which doesn't work, but it takes a hell of a long time. Sometimes, you're there 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And from what I've seen, again, working on over hundreds of thousands of, well, over 100,000, say, client sessions, again, I've come to a discovery that it's not about, say, that chemical structure, although, chemical structures or brain structures and so on like that do have something to do with it. But the underlying reason on why a lot of individuals are depressed come from, say, a space and time issue. Again, so that's the first hiccup that you might have, is like, whoa, space and time. What the hell is he talking about? My kid's depressed, or I'm depressed, and he's talking about space and time. So I'll explain that. Right? Just keep an open mind. If you've tried other things, and again, if you've tried other things and it hasn't worked out, might as well listen up, right? Because you've got nothing to lose. So again, it's about space and time. So, and that's really the key, and that's why psychedelics work out really well. Okay, so before we get into why psychedelics work out really well for some individuals, and then say the after effects on it, is because of space and time. So if you've taken, say, antidepressants or whatever it might be, I don't know what's out there. You know, Prozac was the most popular one back in the day. I don't know what's the latest one is. You know, I don't follow that. But if you've taken some of those, and then the side effects of some of those medications is suicidal, suicidal thoughts, more depression, hurting yourself, and so on like that, right? There's a whole host of side effects, but those are the main ones that are you would go, you would go you would think to yourself, it's like, well, if you're taking a medication, why would it have the opposite effect of you? Okay, so let me explain. So, and this is how, whether it's pharmaceutical drugs or psychedelics, and you want to do both drugs, right? It doesn't really matter. Although psychedelics is a little safer because it's more nature and again, more natural, more, organic, so to speak. So there's a couple thoughts on that I'll get to. So the reason why those side effects occur, again, whether it is pharmaceuticals or psychedelics, is about, again, space-time. Okay, those people who are depressed, and I'll make it very, very simple for you why depression occurs. Okay, the underlying reason, or the foremost reason, or the top level reason on why depression, anxiety, and then that might lead to, say, suicide. The number one reason is, again, space-time. You're not understanding where you are rendering yourself in space-time. Okay, and that sounds way out there. Okay, but let me explain. Okay, make it simple for you. Your higher self, you might want to call it your spirit. I call it your limitless self. Your higher self is, say, creating a version of you that you call you. Okay, your life, your physical formation here. Okay, so that that simulation of you, yes, it does go into the multiverse and so on, where a lot of, say, research is spent. Now, billions of dollars are spent in, and that's why there's movies, Marvel movies coming in, the multiverse, and there's a lot of, say, scientists talking about the multiverse and so on like that. I'm just ahead of the game, and I apply what they're learning and studying now. So, and by the way, a few of those scientists are studying my abilities, by the way, which we all have. So think of yourself this way, okay? Or think of it in a more, say, um, common common way. You've got a computer, right? You've got a computer. You've got your screen for those people who play video games, right? Got it, your computer. You've got your screen. That computer displays an image on the screen. Say you're playing, I don't know, what are some of the games that people play out there? Some of the war games and so on like that, right? Or driving games, or I don't know, whatever is out there. Uh, um, Halo and so on like that. Really amazing graphics, by the way, right? So so I want to come back to that as well. So for example, you've got your computer, again, your limitless self, okay? It knows, just like that computer, it should know where that game piece or that player is being created on the screen, pixel by pixel. So you move your joystick to the left, the image moves to the left. Right? You move it to the right, the image moves to the right. You move it forward, and then the scene moves forward, if that makes sense to you, right? So again, the computer dictates what the physical form or what you see on the screen does, okay? This is very parallel. This is very, very parallel to how your, say, superior self is, or your timeless self is. And again, some people get it confused with spirit, your spirit, and then all credibility goes out the window. So that's why I don't like to use spirit, because it's so distorted. So so you have your higher version of who you are. Again, your master blueprint. Okay, your timeless self dictating. It knows where you are. It renders itself. You are a reflection of, say, your timeless self here. So it renders. It's like, oh, I'm over here. I'm in point A, B. Again, a simulation of where you are, right? And it moves to the left and it goes back and forth, just like the joystick, right? Just straight out, okay? Many of you who are depressed, this is the way you feel. This is the underlying reason on why you feel the way you do, okay? So you imagine you're playing that game and you go to the left, but the player on the screen doesn't go to the left. It might go to the right, it might stay there, and it's like, whoa, what happened? And this is where anxiety happens. This is where depression happens. This is where, again, that disconnect happens, right? You start moving around. You get, say, anxious. It's like, why the hell doesn't this joystick work? Damn it! Why isn't it working? Right? Because your game piece, your image, the person that you are, right? Your avatar, your avatar on the screen is not moving anywhere, or it's moving into a random place where you're going, hey, I don't want to go that way, but why am I going that way? I want to go this way, right? So those who are depressed or anxious, some of you might feel that way. It's the same reason why. It's like you're supposed to be, or your blueprint, however you want to describe it, you're supposed to be moving in simulation or in parallel, right? It moves to the left, you move to the left. Your higher self moves to the right, you move to the right. That gets a disconnect. And this is where some of you who get depressed, like, gosh, I feel lost. No matter where I go, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. How many of those depressed or were that depressed feel that way, right? I feel a disconnect of you. You always hear that from people? I feel a disconnect to myself. I feel a disconnect to myself, right? I don't know who I am. You're right. You don't, because you've lost connection with that, say, computer or joystick. You've lost connection with your higher self. Hence, you would feel that disconnect. And again, I'll read some of you who are, say, depressive. So if you're depressed, I'll quickly read you if we have the time. Okay, as we go through, I can quickly read you and just scan you like that. It's not a big deal. I'll put you into time, and we'll be doing this hyper meditation afterwards, by the way, just to pull you into time. So why don't we do that? Just because of time. Let's take a deep breath in, and notice any spot on your body. Anything, say, unfamiliar, like the tip of your nose, something that you don't pay attention to. Tip of your nose, the I don't know, the top part of your ear, um, I don't know, your right collarbone. Just pay attention to, say, a point on your body that you normally don't pay attention to. Okay? Um, and we'll make it an experiential experience. Take a deep breath in and just notice that point. And over the course of this talk, which should last another 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, I think. Yeah, 10, 15 minutes, you'll start to see how you'll feel. Okay, without any drugs, without anything else. I will center you. I will override basically your system and then center you on where you should be. I know it sounds a lot of crazy, but there's a lot of science behind it. So take a deep breath in again. This one, is it Regina? Mo Jensen, suicidal and depressed. Yeah. So we'll work on you all. Um, so now what happens is this is where you're disconnected from yourself. Okay. So the problem with prescription drugs or psychedelics, right? Problem with prescription drugs or psychedelics is that it messes up with your mind. Okay. You're already disconnected or disassociated with yourself. Okay. So those prescription drugs or psychedelics, I'll just call it drugs from now on, right? What they do is, like, if they have proponents that allow you to see how disconnected you are and you get connected, this is where you feel better about yourself. This is where it helps you connect. It puts you in time. You feel more connected to yourself. You feel more complete, right? But those same compounds might not work for everybody. So they accelerate your disconnect. So say that you're off by a few millimeters or maybe an inch. Okay, you take those drugs, again, both pharmaceutical or again psychedelics, and then they enhance the disconnect because that's what they both do. They enhance the disconnect. So now instead of being an inch off, you're a couple feet off. So over time, you get further and further away. So that joystick or that computer doesn't connect with you anymore. This is where, say, again, deep depression happens. You're totally just out of it. And then you take a little bit more of that stuff, and then boom, you'd have to say commit suicide because that disconnect, the power between the joystick or the computer and then the game, your avatar is way off. It's so far off. It's just like a Bluetooth connection. It's you go farther enough away that what happens? The Bluetooth connection dies, and then boom, right? Your connection, your speaker just dies. Well, you would have to commit suicide or disconnect. And that's where those medications, again, both psychedelic. I've seen a lot of people, by the way, they'll go, I went on an ayahuasca journey, or I went on a Kundalini experience awakening and so on, and I came back and I was totally fried, totally fucked up. What the hell happened? Because that was supposed to enhance you. Again, it's just like pharmaceuticals. If you don't know how to maintain yourself, and that's really the key, if you don't know how to maintain yourself or reconnect yourself, what'll happen, it'll disconnect you even more. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. This one, my girlfriend's children, depressed and fearful. Could you please? Of course, because your girlfriend just basically pours all her garbage on the children, and they get disassociated. And this is the number one cause, by the way, for say teenager, young children suicide. Their parents are really fucked up, just straight out. They're alcoholic, depressed, and so on like that. What do? Just like pets and children, what they do is they'll dump. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna love that kid. Basically, you're suffocating that kid because you need an anchor. Because they're in real time, right? They're kids, they're in time. You need an anchor. So what do? You latch onto them and they save you, thinking that you're saving them. And it gets worse and worse because a young kid cannot hold on to, say, the problems of an adult. And that's why, again, many of these individuals fuck up their kids. So that's another aside. We do work with young kids, by the way. Let's take a deep breath in again. This one, Laura D, being a pharmacist, this is the most brilliant explanation of brain chemistry and antidepressants. Give me so much harmony and clarity, and I'm expanding an old identity. Yes, exactly. So those individuals are, psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, and therapists, and so on like that. You see those people who are depressed. They're here. And this is what you'll see, right? When you see a depressed individual, you get a sense that they're not all there. They're not connected to themselves. I'm telling you the reason why. It's like, oh, you feel out of place. Oh, he feels like he's not here. Oh, you feel like you're in another world. Oh, they don't connect with me. Oh, they don't hear me, right? Because they're not here. Their physical form is here, okay? But their computer or their higher self is displacing them somewhere else, thinking that they're somewhere else. Again, so that game piece again doesn't move where the computer thinks it is, and that's where you get, say, the depression and anxiety. So if you want to use psychedelics, the good thing about, say, psychedelics is one, the pure form of psychedelics. Now, I wouldn't, whether it's pot, whether it's some of the other stuff that people use. Now, those things are really good. A lot, I'm not knocking down pharmaceuticals, but the more organic you can get, the better. So I prefer to use not, I don't use it. If you were going to use it, I don't use psychedelics or anything, but whatever that you're going to use. And again, I don't condone anything, but if you're going to use something, you want to do it safely. So take a deep breath in again. So if you're going to use psychedelics or even pharmaceuticals, right, what you want to do is really spatial reference. And I'll talk about that for just a second here. Spatial referencing is understanding where you are in reference to your, say, reality. So it resets, say, that connection with your with yourself. Just like, when you have your phone and, it asks you to calibrate, by going back and forth like this, right? You're out of sync. It has to recalibrate. You have to recalibrate with your higher version. Those individuals who don't sleep well or sleep deprived over time, and the main reason why you sleep, by the way, is so you can recalibrate back in time. Those people who, and there's a lot of studies on sleep deprivation. What happens? People go suicidal, people get depressed, people start hallucinating different realities. It's not in their mind. They literally go into those, say, realities, and that's what messes them up. So, all right. So take a deep breath in again. Notice how you're feeling. So if you're doing psychedelics, spatial referencing, again, very, very key, is that you would notice, say, the TV's in front of me. The TV's in front of me, and, my chest is over here. The door is over to, say, my left of me, and my shoulder is over here. Okay? You can do that with sounds. The sound is coming off over to the right there, and I'm hearing it from. Again, so always spatial reference. This is very basic spatial referencing, but even the most basic is really powerful if you just use it consistently for a couple days. Within a day, most people literally will feel much, much better just spatial referencing. Okay, so the sound is coming over there. Over here, right? A body part, my right arm. Right? You can do that with sight, sound, touch, right? The couch is underneath me. I'm sitting on it. It's always the object and then a body part. Always the object and the body part, not the other way around. Some of you who are depressed, do you notice that when you focus in on something, you literally pull your identity out? That makes sense to you, and you just float into the object or whatever thought or whatever reality dimension that you're in. People who have loved ones, it's like, how many times have you heard, uh-oh, there they go again? Where are they going? Their physical body is there. Again, their mental, it's not their mental, it's their presence. It just starts to float out of them, and you're starting to see that, right? So again, spatial referencing, highly important. Just give it a try. Okay? It there's no drugs involved. You can't lose. Again, if you don't believe it, it's fine. But fuck, just give it a try and see how you feel, especially those people who are really, really depressed. Okay? You can still stay on your meds and all that stuff. I'm not saying to take off, don't stop using your meds or, all that stuff. I'm just saying that try spatial referencing while you're on your meds. And like a lot of people who have done that, and again, comment in on how many of you have, say, released the medications now that you're spatial referencing and you're more centered, right? So again, that's really, really the key. The other thing that you want to do, again, pharmaceuticals or again, I prefer psychedelics for you, is one, they should be organic. So I really don't like, the new technologies, that edit, say, marijuana to be specific, right? They've changed it, they separated it, and all that stuff. Try to get the most organic, say, marijuana that you can, because um, um, your body system has a cannabinoid system. Your body does have a cannabinoid system, and it's not just for marijuana, by the way, although it's pretty well parallel to it. It's for all plants. Okay, that plant. So again, if you're taking marijuana or again anything organic, mushrooms or whatever like that, the most pure you can get, the better it is, because that your cannabinoid system starts to work, and that's the base system from what I see. Again, I'm not an expert at this, but this is what I see in most people, tens of thousands of people that have helped out of depression, is their system is not working, so they don't get, say, grounded. They don't understand where they are locked in. There's a GPS that's sending out where you are, like, hey, I am here, I am here. That's not working well. So your higher self, your spirit doesn't pick it up. Simple as that, right? So, 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 so so let's take a deep breath in again. I think a lot of you, if I'm not mistaken, do you, I think a lot of you from what I'm seeing are going, shit, I'm starting to see the light. And even just understanding or noting, you just seem to be more, say, in tune, or things might feel brighter for you. That makes sense to you. Again, shout out. Do you feel more brighter now? Right? As we've been talking, what I've been doing is just literally pulling you into this reality where you should be. Right? So LSD and so on like that. LSD is not organic. It is those individuals, and this is what happens to, again, same thing. LSD, back in the day, most people used it, to create, creativity, right? They got their creative genius out of so on and so on. So what that would do is what would happen is like, you know, you're locked here. Most people take LSD and it's like, oh shit, I feel free. And then it wears off and then you come back in. But every time you do LSD, every time you disconnect, you come back in, you're a little off center. You fuck up your GPS, and then you mess up your GPS. This is where those individuals commit suicide. It's just straight out. Look at all those individuals, brilliant beings, right? Great artists, architects, whatever it might be. They committed suicide or they went mentally insane. That's the reason why. Number one reason why, on why that happens. Okay, there's a lot of science behind it that we talk about in the lecture series, by the way. So if you want to know the science, or if you are a researcher and want to do some research and just go, hey, you know what, Moss? I do believe you. I don't want to, I don't believe you. I want to put this to the, put this to the te to the test. I'm totally willing to help you work on your clients, especially if you're, say, a research facility. If you're researching, say, mental instability or depression or anything like that, hey, test my theory out. I'm willing to work on, the clients, or say a study group or anything like that. And again, in a very short time, you'll start to see your clients, even the hardest clients, again, reclaim themselves. Okay, so what did we learn here? One, if you're going to try psychedelics or even say depression medicines, what you want to do is get the most, say, organic that you can. I know pharmaceuticals are a little harder, but there are some pharmaceuticals that will help you. And then there are always, organic pharmaceuticals, like 5-HTP and so on like that, that'll help you naturally. Um, so there's those things as well. But the closer you can get to the organic substance, the more, say, um, coding there is in that substance to let you know, say, what reality you are, say, creating yourself in. Okay, so again, that's a deeper understanding. Um, let's take a deep breath in. So the next aspect that you can do, if you're going to do psychedelics, okay, and again, I don't condone anything, is that if you do psychedelics, okay, there are, say, the 18-day hyper meditations that we do, okay. If you're familiar with that, and if you're not, the next one starts in July. The team can put out, when that starts out, that'll center you. It's 18 days where you transform your life completely. Do the last third. It's broken down into, thirds, the first, in six, so first 6 days, second 6 days, the third 6 days. So if you're going to do psychedelics for, especially for depression, you want to do the last third, not the first, because that would, say, might, say, accelerate your disconnect, because it allows you to observe how disconnected you are, because you have to observe how disconnected you are for you to fix that connection, right? So again, if you're on a psychedelic journey, or again, drugs, prescription drugs, you don't want to be in that space. You don't want to use that and then use the first and second half. You take the third half. Okay, so any meditation, any 6 meditations, especially towards the end of the 18 days, any of those, and then you try to, if you're going to do psychedelics to balance you or harmonize you. I know there's a lot of people who use psychedelics as a treatment for depression. Try that on top of your psychedelics. Again, I don't claim anything, but see if you center yourself, because what that'll do for you. Right? The psychedelics, yes, they will separate you. The hyper meditations, the last six of them, especially the last three, on the 18 days, that tells your brain chemistry. It's like you're hovering above yourself. That's why you feel good. You're hovering above yourself. The hyper meditations will lock you down on where you should be. So when you come back down, you don't need the psychedelics, because that's what's wrong with psychedelics. It makes you feel good as long as you're on it, so you get addicted to it, even if it's a non-addictive, say, substance. Right? So key is spatial reference before you do a psychedelic or even prescription medications, and then the last 18 days. Okay? The last, say, six, especially the last three of the 18 days. Give it a try. Alcohol, alcohol is a great, um, um, it's a great, it's a great opportunity for you to say loosen up, but there's a point in alcohol, the more you use it, the more and more you start losing it. Okay? It's called spirits. There's a reason why they call it spirits. Alcohol has an identity of its own, and so many billions of people have used alcohol. Again, it's created, say, an auric field, say, that destroys you over time. Okay? So you can use it just as say, a microdosing of alcohol, where you just take a little, where you get comfortable enough, where you're not tense enough. So that might work for you. But again, not too much, right? All right. Also, grounding to the earth, uh, barefoot, that works really well as well. Those things, again, really work. Sure, they work well, but it's um, I don't want to say they don't work. They work really, really well, but they're not going to say cure you. It's a nice stabilizer. What I'm talking about, again, is literally people have cured themselves. Um, uh, People have literally cured themselves of depression. Again, even long time histories of family depression, they've cured themselves of it. Doing spatial referencing, doing the 18-day hyper meditations, or any of the exponential intelligence products that we have. Okay? Uh, and by the way, it doesn't take decades. It literally it doesn't take decades at all. It is, gosh, 18 days. Some people. I'm going to end with this story, by the way, and then we will bring on Carlos. Okay. I don't know if we're taking a break in between, Yami. Just let me know, or are we just jumping right into it? So, no break? Okay, we'll just jump right into it. That was fast. All right. So I'm going to tell you a story on how, say, potent this is. And this is not, some of you might have already heard this story, but in our London event at the Science Museum, uh, we had some technical issues. So there was another friend of mine, he started speaking. Is like, so what are some of the greatest stories? And this story you hear over and over and over and over again, but this is firsthand experience, okay, of what happened, because they're closer to me. So I connect with that child more. So it was a friend, I don't know, niece of a friend, okay, of ours, and they were at their wits end, literally at their wits end, and they had a 10, 11-year-old girl, and they've gone to so many. She was on like four prescription medication, four or five. She had four or five, say, therapists, and they all agreed. Again, this is today. They all agreed to put her in a padded cell for 6 months, no communication. For a 10-year-old kid to have no human contact, that'd be unbearable. I don't know what they're thinking, but that's what they were thinking. So, so they came to me, and we were at the picnic, and they were, so embarrassed. It's like, do you mind? It's like, of course, it's a little kid who needs help. I worked on her for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. That's about it. Next day, she went home with a headache, a severe headache. Next morning, she came back, and the mother, was crying, and it's like, gosh, my little girl's back, right? And that little girl has never looked back at all. She was so severe, by the way. She would just run after her mom with a knife. It was that kind of, say, manic, say, depression, anxiety, and all that stuff. It was that severe. Again, 10 minutes, right? Now, again, I've never claimed to cure anybody, but it's an awakening moment where you just put somebody in time, they take over and go, shit, I don't need this anymore. So now she excels. She started her own, I think, some kind of business on YouTube or something like that. She's gotten really high grades. So again, that little girl, without, say, that awakening or that help, would have gone on to be totally addicted, labeled as PTSD, ADD, and all those other things. But again, in about 10 minutes, kids especially, it's amazing. It's amazing how fast they transform once they understand the logistics on how they render themselves in this reality, in space-time, in this multiverse. Right? So take a deep breath in, guys. Was a child's issues ancestral? Yes. Yes, it was. A lot of depression in the family. When you're kids, when you're a young child, you have an opportunity to disconnect from your ancestral or your hereditary patterns. But most parents don't know how to do that, and the children gets bound into it more. Or unfortunately, most parents dump more of their shit on their parents. Just like they do with their pets, right? You see these pets walking around, and it's like, oh my God, that pet feels so dirty, right? I mean, if you've done that, seen that, it's like because all that person's garbage on it, right? The pet has heart issues. The owner has heart issues. See how that works, guys? All right. Uh, be here now. Why can't I change in 10 minutes or 10 years? Not exactly sure what that means. You're always really you specifically, you support other people. You get to a point that you're really, really good. You feel really good with XI, say for example, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm going to go help somebody else, and then you burden yourself with somebody else. Again, for you, whoever this is, it just says be here now for you. Again, don't help anybody else until you are solidly grounded, right? And then once you learn to, say, balance yourself, then you can help others without drowning yourself again. So you create a cycle. Um, all right, so let's bring on Carlos, and then if we've got time, I'll start to scan you all and see. Hey, Carlos, can you hear me
Hey,
okay?
Matt. I hear you wonderfully. Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity.
Oh, awesome. So, yeah, let's just jump right in. How long have you been working with XI, or are you new to me, or what
I'm
have you
brand
done?
new, brand new.
Okay, so no, so you've probably heard a few Moss on Sundays and all that stuff just to get you interested,
Yeah,
right?
I hear about you and the Think and Grow Rich event, and I'm really connected with what you're
Oh,
saying, and that's why I'm here.
okay. Oh, the Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, that's quite an amazing event, and a lot of famous speakers. But I think from what I'm hearing from the sponsors, I was the one that drew the most, say, interest. There's a lot of high level people, and it's actually the Think and Grow Rich tour. I think it's not on, but I think you can still access it, guys. It is
Correct.
really an amazing set of speakers on there. Bob Proctor, as you know, or you may not know, for some of you, he passed away, and he was, the father of, say, motivation and so on like that. They had asked me to, take over his space, so it was quite an honor for me on that tour. So thank you so much for that. But for you, do you have heart issues or lung issues, chest issues, or does your parents do?
My dad died of lung cancer.
Got it. Okay. So that imprint on you, Carlos, is still there for you. How long ago did he die?
10 years,
Yeah,
11.
yeah, I was saying, and again, I was saying 10 because, yeah, we said 10 at the same time. Okay. So your father is still here with you, by the way. So you might
Wow.
feel his presence, or you might think about him a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that, you know, and even before then, because 10 years ago. So how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking? And by
I,
the way,
I'm
you're on
no, don't worry.
public.
I'm 43. I'm 43.
Okay, you're 43. So at 33, at 33, was there some complications with a relationship around that age for you? You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
actually, yes.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
marriage. Yeah, I don't know if you were married or thinking about being married or thinking about being divorced, that kind of deal, that kind of
Um,
intensity.
I not end up I ended a relationship the day before my dad passed away. So
Got it. Okay, so that's where that connection. It's like shit, I got to end this relationship. So there's a lot of commotion, and then, with the stress of your dad, and then it's like boom, your dad passes away. It's just like one hit after another,
yeah,
and that just impacted you. So but then, still that's 33. So what about, say, the rest, from 0 to 33, how did you get to that point? Right? There's obviously patterns why to your relationship. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Wow. 7 relationships? One, two, three, four, five, six,
yeah, I have plenty.
seven. Yeah, about seven, six, seven. Who's counting though, right? What the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I was always chasing a new relationship. Kind of validating myself through another relationship.
Yeah,
That's
pattern.
my
Yep.
pattern. Yes.
So, and then what you would do, Carlos, and here's one of the keys is like you would sacrifice yourself for that relationship. You would just lose yourself. And that's why, you know, things might go good in a relationship and so on like that, but then you would give more and more and more to that person. And then here's the key, Carlos, and we're going to be talking about this in Ibiza, by the way, coming up. Um, the problem with that is that you love somebody and you're open-hearted and you give and give and give, right? But for some women or the women that you attract, the more you give to them, the more scared they get, and then that's where it's like, well, what does he want from me? Because something's not right here, and then they feel more and more disconnected, and then you give more and more. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, it
And
does.
then they feel more and more disconnected. So do you see that pattern in I see algorithms, by the way. Do you see that pattern in all your relationships,
Yes.
and even career, by the way? This is where
Ah,
you might become untrustworthy.
I'm sorry. What? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, this is where people might think you're untrustworthy.
Well, I'm a lawyer, so
There you go. So
but
people might
again,
think again, that might accelerate.
probably
Um,
I'm not the standard lawyer. I'm more into corporate commerce, so I'm not the one chasing ambulance. But yes, I understand where you're coming from. Yes.
okay. So take a breath in, and this is what we'll do as we speak. So let's go back, 15, I want to say maybe 14, 15 years old, Carlos. Um, it's like that's where you really got your identity. It's like if you really want something, you have to chase after it, from
Correct.
what I'm sensing. Because before that, it's just like time after time after time after time. It's like opportunities will show up for you, but you almost have it, and then it just like disappears for you. You almost have it and it disappears. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
Before
a lot.
around that age?
A
So
lot.
14 or 15, I don't know what exact, I'm not a psychic. By the way, my abilities don't work like a psychic. I see algorithms. Um, um, so around that time, it's like, shit, if I really want something, I have to go after it and grab it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why, you're successful and so on. But at a personal level, you're going out there and grabbing relationships, and then they feel suffocated. Does that make sense? Rather than, so there's another way of doing it. Take a breath in. Notice your chest area. And then I want to say 6 or 7 years of age, kind of a hard knock for you. It's like your dad wasn't there for you, or you felt like your dad wasn't there for you, and you're always trying to impress your dad for you.
Yeah.
Or it could be your mom. It's a masculine identity, though. If that makes sense for you. So, does that make sense? How that
A
work?
lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get to the point, 6 or 7 is really a pivotal age for young kids, because I call it the liquid stage, 0 to 7, 0 to 7, 8. The liquid stage is a great opportunity for parents to help clean up their kids from their patterns that they've inherited, but they don't. So that age, so you gel and solidify, into lack, so to speak, or not being, say, good enough, or always chasing after, say, that attention, so to speak, and never getting it. Does that make sense? So take a breath in. And that's where your father died. And then it's like, I can never prove to him, I can never show him that I'm this, right? And again, I've worked on individuals who are, 80 years old, and they still need that desire of connecting to that father. But obviously, it's not there anymore,
It's not there.
right? It's just gone. And then that's where it just like after 33, things got heavier and heavier and heavier till your current age. So let's just remove that heaviness. How's that
Thank you.
sound for you?
Because
Let
actually a lot of my success happened after he died. So I never had the chance to show, yeah, I did okay. You could be proud of me. I never had the
Yep.
chance to join.
Yeah, you never had a chance to connect. So let's have that reunion. I know it sounds really weird, but if you understand the science of death, I did a talk on that, on how death works. Um, so let's have a reunion where you'll probably experience his presence around you, so to speak. And again, I can explain the science on how death works, um, that scientists don't know about. So take a breath in if you don't mind. I'll just guide you, and then those other individuals who are, especially men, who feel that, say, emptiness, in that relationship where they never had a chance to prove, like, hey, Dad, I did good, you know. Um, and by the way, I know another lawyer. Take a breath in again. Notice your spine. Trying to keep you out of your mind. He used to make $100 million a year, one of the best lawyers for what he did. He was never proud of himself. Notice your spine. Seems like your dad had a curved spine as well. You know what I'm saying? And then the burdens. Again, I saw the heaviness in your chest, which would lead a propensity later on as you age to have issues in your chest as well. Sometimes, we love, say, our parents so much, we didn't get a chance to show them that we're good. We would, to honor them or be like them, we would even take on, say, their burdens or sometimes their diseases. I've seen that happen as well. So let's remove that for you. Breathe. Notice your chest, buddy. Let's. Do you feel your father around you or the burden of that, by the way?
I want to say always feeling with me. So it's not a stranger feeling. It's just I think he's always watching over me. It's just I feel it all the time. But yes, I always think I can feel him.
Yeah, in a good way. Let's just say he's watching over you, but it messes up your connection because his presence is always dominate because his presence is higher frequency than yours because you're in a physical form, so you're denser. So he will start overtaking you, and then you'll have some of the issues that he had, by the way, that you even try to stay away from. Does that make sense? Did his father have drinking problems, by the way? Alcohol?
No, no, my dad had drinking problems. I
Your
never
dad
had a
have
chance to. What?
did your dad have drinking problems or no?
Yeah, well, again, he was really depressed. He was used to take
Yeah,
Ativan, and
got
I
it.
never got a chance to
Yeah.
meet my grandfather. He was a very successful businessman back in Venezuela, where I'm from. He died when he was only
Got it.
23. So again,
Oh, okay. So I just see alcohol or drinking problems. Not like alcoholism, but let's just say drinking problems. They're just so let's remove all that from your father as well for you. Because the cool thing about that is that the way he's connected or you feel him around you, because what happened is that say that there's a plug-in, okay? A consciousness here at this level one. We're level zero, okay? He basically unplugged himself here. He's just went to a higher level. That makes sense to you? So you don't see him here, but he still exists at a level one consciousness. What you're doing and what you're experiencing is basically, again, the love of your father, you plugged into him. So now you're running your consciousness, his consciousness. That makes sense. So so that's why you feel him around you. So let's disconnect that from you, and then it allows him to say disconnect from this lower level. It allows him to disconnect from his genetic makeup because it's not needed anymore. And I know it gets a little crazier, but in a very short time, and usually takes about 1 to 2 months, your genetic makeup, I would assume, from other people transforming, your genetic makeup changes as well. So basically, you don't have to have the issues as your father did as they age, especially if you continue on with the work. Breath in again, buddy. Notice your chest. So what you might feel is that real loss of your father. I would just go through the process again of just losing your father. But an awakened loss will expand you. You won't feel him around you. He'll come through sometimes, though, and you might feel his presence, and it's literally a loving presence, which will feel like your father. He had a special scent to him, too. Um, it wasn't cologne, it's just a special scent. I don't know, maybe a cigar or something, or maybe alcohol, whatever. Um, you might actually smell that scent. Can I get him to do that? Yeah, just give me a second. So, kind of helping him reprogram. So, say you're just hanging out, and then all of a sudden it's like you'll get a scent, your father's scent around you. So he'll basically come into this consciousness and then disappear. Because if they're awakened, they won't hang out like you. Um, but then it's like, whoa, that's my father. But you'll feel really uplifted or expansive. That makes sense to you. And then you'll feel like, wow, I got it. And then that's where you'll be okay with your father's death and that being fulfilled, or explaining or that connection, that experience you wanted to have with him. It'll be fulfilling for you. Does that make sense for you?
It does. I have a question on that. I feel a little bit disconnected sometimes, where I live cycles where I'm good, and then I get a little. Your talk today was amazing. It was like, I think it was designed for me today. So I got into a little depression and then go back. I go into these crazy cycles where, and then
Yes,
sometimes I feel so disconnected to things that I'm kind of lose sense of purpose, or procrastination comes, and I have very hard to focus on things. So I don't know if that's related or not, or maybe you can
it is.
something else.
It isn't. Yeah. So after your father's death, the cycles, again, you've always been cycling, but you cycle higher and higher till 33 for some reason. And then again, the breakup and then your father's death. Basically, it was just like these big, heavy things that, remember I was talking about these heavy, that bag. So you cycle up and you have an opportunity to cycle up, but then something just heavy comes in and just boom, it like cycles you downwards, and then you get up and running because you got success mechanisms, and then you cycle up again, and then something heavier like falls on you even more. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
like 30, just to tell you, 34, 35, something happened for you, and then like 38, again, it's like a cycle or anxiety, whatever. It just, so with age, it gets heavier. 41 was another heavy moment of time where it's just like you could have had an opportunity to break through, but then you cycled downwards instead of cycling upwards, so to speak. If that makes sense for you.
It
So
does a lot.
yes, so, yep. So those patterns again, we might call it depression, but it's literally the weight or the burdens of your father's death. Just instead of taking you up, it's like cycling because you don't have that strength to take his burden up where you should be. A lot of successful individuals have that issue though. So yeah, so now you'll start to cycle up the way you normally do, and if you continue, especially if you did the 18 days, also I'd suggest
I'm
that
about
coming
to.
up.
I'm about to.
Yeah, you're gonna cycle. You're gonna go back and feel like you were 33, 34 again around your father's death and that breakup. You're gonna reclaim those moments. Yeah, both the breakup and your father's death, and then those experiences will start to become a euphoric experience for you. You still, you still miss your father, but it's like you think of him. My father passed away, and I think of him. It's like, damn, it feels good. It's a stronger connection, by the way. So, you have a sister or something?
Brother.
Okay. Oh, okay. Your brother feels very feminine to me. That makes sense. He's very sensitive. Does that make sense to you? I'm not saying he's feminine or gay or anything like that, but I'm just saying he's very, very sensitive to frequencies around him. So he might have a harder time. Uh, um, yeah, he holds on. Say I don't know if he's in a relationship. Even if he is, he doesn't feel like one. But um, the woman's burdens will burden the hell out of him, and that's why he feels feminine to me. So you gotta he might the reason why it shows up is like you feel really, really good. He might come up and go, hey, I need help. So be mindful of how you help him. You want to stay at that level rather than taking on his burdens. Because sometimes you jump out of yourself to help others, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Any other questions as we end, buddy?
No, that's. I think yours gave me so much light, and I appreciate it. I'm uh,
Yeah.
I'm still in the process, but I'm really happy to find you and becoming a ex-hire. I'm just excited for this journey for sure.
Yeah, that's all. How do you feel? How does your chest feel?
I feel great, honestly. From the beginning of the conversation, I was already getting so much insight, and then now you're
Yeah.
telling me all this. It's just you know there's something wrong, but you don't know what it is. And you give me these pointers, open my mind to say, okay, it's not me. It's not like I'm going crazy or I should be happy. Things are happening in my life, but I always had a sense that something is missing or I'm not thankful for the things I had. So I have all this conflict, but now I understand from your perspective that it's just
Exactly.
part of that process
Exactly.
I'm going through.
a, a lot of things will look clear for you, by the way, and you'll be more efficient in what you do.
Thanks.
All right, buddy? All right, guys.
Thank you.
You bet, buddy. You bet anytime. A lot of comments for you, Carlos. Carlos looking much lighter. Again, so uh, my dad's was cigarettes. Yeah. Uh, again, you guys see the difference on underlying reasons why? What most of us do is like, I have a problem, and then you look at, say, the reality that you're in, and you go, it's because of that. It's a problem, and you change it, and that's why, but that wasn't, say, the real issue, and that's why your problems don't go away. All right, guys. I feel disconnected from others and the loving within me. So this one, Marcella Costa. So as you go through the process, by the way, if you do the 18 days and so on, what'll happen is that you uh, going through the process, basically you're closer to yourself than ever before. But what'll happen for you? or people that run your patterns, Marcella, is that you're actually seeing how disconnected you were with other people, right? And they'd always let you down, by the way, right? So you're actually seeing that pattern. So again, you've accelerated to a higher frequency or better version of yourself. But again, the reason why is like you're seeing your old patterns. So look towards your new patterns, right? It's like, okay, now that I know why I feel disconnected, so you're getting a deeper version or a deeper understanding on again why you felt that way with others and now yourself. So now that you understand that pattern, what are you going to do to connect with yourself more, even more? That's a really good statement for you. It's like, yes, I feel that, I understand that. Um, what am I going to do to reconnect the proper way? And as you do, you'll go back and heal your child self that you never had a chance to live, from what I'm seeing. So I'm looking for an XI lawyer. Yeah, we need more of those, by the way, for sure. Getting younger and younger frequencies on you. I don't know if you're talking about me, but thank you. This one's kind of cute. Woke up and my cat was uh, lost it. This one, Raggled Mo Jensen. Can I have a scan moss? Yeah. So, and then we'll call it a day, guys. Again, for you, is that there's like your family went through some sort of desperation or anxiety that kind of split your world apart. So something happened that your world got split, right? And as your world got split, um, you live. Your world feels split to me. So it's almost like you're always torn in situations. Should I do this or should I do that? Right? No matter what situation that you're in. Say that you're in a great opportunity here, but it's like, yeah, I missed out on this opportunity again. So it's always a split, no matter what it is, right? If you're in one space, you should be in another space, and that's how you feel. And then over time, that split has become more and more definitive for you. Especially if you're going to do XI, you'll see how you've been split. Okay, it's your opportunity for you to say pull you back and take a deep breath in. And what I'll help you do is understand how you've been split or whatever situation like tore you apart. Okay, um, and then as you understand, it's like, oh, that's why I'm split. You'll understand the deeper reasons, the deeper understanding on why that happens, and then you can put yourself together, especially if you did the 18 days, by the way. So, there you go. All right, guys. A lot of good things coming up, by the way. We're doing this Ibiza event so that we're really, really excited. It's a really high-end event. We're bringing in, say, the true masculine. So it's really the startup. I know we've been talking about, doing a woman's or a man's series. So now I think that's going to be really a start off on, bringing in, say, a true XI uh, female and masculine frequency for you. So that's going to be start the feminine series or masculine series for XI, which a lot of you are excited. So I'm excited about that. The driving event coming up, if you can, it's in mid-July sometimes up in Brainerd, Minnesota, guys. If you haven't had a chance, again, it's a great opportunity. And by the way, if you don't know how to drive, it's totally fine. You can still, attend the seminar. Okay, there's enough people. I don't know if we have enough drivers. We might fit in a few more. I'm not exactly sure how many they can handle, but again, it's a great opportunity. And why we did the driving event, what does driving have to do with success? Well, really, a lot of, say, highly successful individuals, they drive fast cars. They get into racing and so on like that. I know I am. But and the reason why is because it forces them into time. Okay, so we use that connection. It forces you into time. It's not only exhilarating for you, but it allows you, one, to disconnect from time, disconnect from your identity. Because when you're driving at high speeds, by the way, I want to clarify, it is not a race. Okay, we have professional drivers. My son and Andre, he's done stunts for movies and so on like that, high level, and then Kurt, he is. Kurt, pretty funny guy, but he basically is the real Top Gun. Uh, Literally, he's a real Top Gun. He flies fighter planes, and he's also a race car driver. So those three individuals will be sitting next to you, okay, helping you say go around, the racetrack. Okay, so it's totally safe for you. But the reason why we do that, again, you're in a safe environment. But as you go around the racetrack, say beyond, say, your control, but the car is under control, right? So they teach you how to do it. You'll feel like you're out of control, which disconnects you. It pulls you into time. So it literally disconnects you from your identity of who you are. And then the classwork, the seminars and so on that we do around that puts you back together where you should be. So it accelerates your success mechanism. So it's really one of the fastest ways to have a success mechanism literally like hammered into you or programmed into you. Okay, much faster than any program out there. I can guarantee it that espouses success. All right, so that's what that's for you. And I think that 18-day meditation is coming up for you as well. So the team can put it all up there for you. All right, please like this video, guys, and subscribe to the channel if you can. Thank you so much, and let your friends know. All right, guys. As we end, notice what you notice, and notice those details.